That was a great old time tune called the Pretty Little Dog that I learned piles of years ago. Um, and we're continuing a series of lessons in the old time modal style of playing the dulcimer, the old drony stuff that's just so spooky. Now, Pretty Little Dog is often played about a billion times faster than that. It's a ripping little tune, but I like it slow and mournful, and it's got that mountain minor Dorian mode kind of sound. Um, Now you notice that this time I didn't use a noter, I used my fingers, and I want to talk a little bit about playing old time style with your fingers. It's a little bit different. So, my tuning is A, D. Why did I tune A, D to play a Dorian mode tune? A lot of dulcimer books will have you tune D, A, G, for instance, to play a Dorian mode tune, which is great if you want to play in the key of D. But Pretty Little Dog is in the key of A. Right now, if your dulcimer is D, A, D, all you got to do is make that string A, which is the tonic key that we're in. So you just come in and bring it down. So now I've got two A's, two unison, they're unisons. And this string I didn't change at all, it was a D. And if you count up, you got D, E, F sharp, G, A. So I've got an A note. So that gives me a scale in the key of A that starts on the 4th fret, which is the Dorian mode. That's not so hard. Now, a couple things happened there that I want to call attention to. One thing is what I'm doing with this hand, my right hand. I'm doing a lot of strums back towards me instead of always strumming away. Another thing I'm doing is sometimes I'm adding emphasis strums on my outside strings. So, that's kind of tricky for some people to play. Instead of playing across all the strings, I'm just playing one string and then the melody string and then the double strings. Another thing I want to call your attention to is that I'm primarily using just these 3 fingers. Why? Because my baby finger doesn't work very well. That's why. If you can use it, more power to you. Mine has never worked particularly well. And I'm not using my thumb in this style as much. That means I have to shift my hand a lot. Shift. So when I get to that phrase, I said shift because I'm shifting down my whole hand. Then shift down, shift back up, or you can stay there. So there's a lot of kind of changing your hand position and which fingers you use to play the notes to get this stuff to work. What I try to do is I try to set it up so I've got, a lot of times my ring finger anchored at the lowest fret I'm going to play, and then my other 2 fingers can move up and down around that. And if I have to move down, my ring finger comes down. Watch what happens here. And there, I had shifted up so I could go. Here's a shift so I can put my index finger on the 6th fret. And then I shift up again there. I could also have done a shift in the middle of all that like this. I don't know if you saw that, but I went from playing the 6th fret with my index with my index right when I played that first note, I shifted my ring finger up there so I could get into this position with all those 3 fingers right in a row. And then I'm going to change fingers again. I'm also putting a little of this stuff in there, a little vibrato. I also want to call attention to all the slurs that I'm doing. I'm doing tons of hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides. Slide, of course, is just moving from one string to another by sliding. Style you do a lot with the noter. But I'm also doing tons and tons of hammer-ons, and a hammer-on is where you play a note and you hammer down with your finger to the next fret higher, or several frets higher. It doesn't have to be just one. See? And one of the things that a hammer-on like that will do, or a slide, is it gives you a little syncopation. Instead of going, you can get this sound. Okay, the other thing I mentioned was a pull-off. A pull-off is the opposite hammer-on, where you play a note and then you flick your finger off. So you've got to have the notes that you're pulling off to ready. And it's a little tricky. You don't come straight up, no sound. You don't come straight sideways, because that's kind of ugly, but you do a little of and it's those slurs that really make this kind of style just really work. So I'm going to play just a little bit of it one more time so you can hear it. I mean, there were slides, there were hammer-ons, there were stuff all over the place. And that's really the trick to getting this style to just sing. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed this look at the tune Pretty Little Dog. Until next time, stay tuned.